update on the various 2017 corn projects. This is the Cherokee White flower and Papa's Red flower cross project. A couple of things to note. I had interplanted 3 spots with morning glories. This ultimately was a bad idea. As you can see, it's starting to tear down some of the corn. I think I only put 3 pots of morning glories in this 50-foot row. I think by the end of the season, at least half the row is going to be overwhelmed with them. I know some lovely person is going to add a comment here that had I only done beans, this wouldn't have happened. Have I heard of beans in the Three Sisters? Yes, I have. I wasn't born yesterday. And the exact same thing would happen even if you grew beans. At least that's what happens around here when we have fertile soil and lots of rainfall. One thing to note is that the Cherokee White flower seems to be more or less free of major disease. There is some minor stuff going on here, but it's not too concerning. However, the Papa's Red flower is seriously affected by something. I'm not a corn disease expert, so I don't know what, but it is pretty hideous looking. Not the best. Some plants are worse than others, but it's pretty bad looking stuff. Update on the Andean Chuspi corn. As you can see, they appear to have silked, and looks like the tassels and the silk coincided. There's an extremely odd ear of corn. You can see at the leaf axil here, there's a long shaft that comes up, and then a swelling there, and a lot of leaves at the end. I'm not sure what those are called, but this is really unlike any of the native North American corns I've grown. The way this plant produces the ears, very odd indeed. And hopefully these actually do get pollinated, and we'll see what kind of corn this actually is. This is Corn Smut, the indigenous natives of what's now Mexico. I think the word for it is Huitlacoche. If you get it in this sort of form here, the younger stage before it sporulates, it is edible. It's a fungus. It's I'm not sure how it's classified. I'll have to look that up. But to me, it's sort of like a puffball type thing, and it eventually breaks open and sheds spores out. Generally goes after corn ears, although once in a great while I have seen it on just plain leaves or stalks. But as wet as it's been this year, we haven't had a real bad problem with it. I have tried like this stuff to eat, and I don't find it particularly tasty myself, but I imagine it might be maybe more nutritious than grass. I don't know. I found some more of the Corn Smut. This is on the Bronze Beauty Flint corn. This is actually really an interesting example here. This is a tiller, which is producing an ear, but the ear is a queen ear. It's an ear that's multiple ears all smashed into one, and it's got smut on it. But there's a variety of flint corn called Smutnose because it has this kind of a phenotype where you see the husks don't cover the ear and the kernels fully. This here would be another example. This sets the corn up to be much more prone to having the corn smut attack it. If you have something that has good husk coverage where the husks extend way past the end of the ear, you generally don't see as much corn smut. And so I guess I will refer to anything like that as a Smutnose phenotype. And this is what you often end up with that. So this is the front row of the bronze Beauty Flint corn being eaten alive by pole beans. This is what actually happens when you try to do the Three Sisters garden, at least around here. These beans were planted about 3 weeks after the corn, maybe 4 weeks after the corn. This is generally what we end up with. The only way this system works for me is if I have a half runner type bean. It's not quite as vigorous as a full pole, and we use a really tall, strong stalk corn. I can kind of get it to work then. This is one of these things that sounds good in theory, but in actual practice they end up knocking the corn plants down and it just doesn't really work. The other thing is that some fairly significant disease has become evident on these bronze Beauty Flints, and I don't know exactly what this is. Maybe northern leaf blight, maybe something else. And some of the plants are definitely hit worse than others, but I'm seeing some expression on most of the plants. However, at this point, we're past the milk stage on these. I mean, at this point, the seeds, I think, are viable. So the plants at this point don't really concern me that much. And speaking of this particular plant, I ate some of these at the milk stage, and they were extraordinarily sweet. This was absolutely as sweet as any sweet corn I have ever had. Really impressively sweet. Really a good tasting corn. Now, being a flint corn, these were on the crunchy side, but not starchy, not chalky, just outstandingly sweet. And more smut on a Smutnose type bronze Beauty Flint. So the double red sweet corn, I pulled some ears yesterday and they did pollinate successfully with the sugary enhanced sweet. I tasted the ears, and as per my previous experience some years ago, it's really, in my opinion, not the sweetest sweet corn. I thought it was more along the lines of a flour corn. Very chalky, pasty, starchy flavored. Just a hint of sweetness. Definitely needs work, in my opinion, to become a good, solid sweet corn. Sugary enhanced sweet row. This looks like it's about 7 to 10 days away. I tested some yesterday, but it's coming along real nice, and there's not much of any signs of disease in this. And actually, there's not much of any signs of serious disease in the double red, although maybe a little more than the sugary enhanced. Some of the parents of the sugary enhanced that went into this variety were selected for some solid disease resistance. As you might notice from the last video, we do have weeds. So if you were thinking in the previous video, where are my weeds at? Why are things so clean? Here are the weeds. Weeds are here. So the final part of my 2017 crazy corn projects is the Gourdseed flint crosses mixed in with the regular flints. In front of me is the wall of death. I planted these nightmarish Solanums in an attempt to keep things away from eating my corn, which didn't work earlier in the season, although I half suspect it would work now. These things are absolutely monstrous. Even the fruit has these spines on them. These are just crazy thorns. But so here's this crazy corn. We have a lot of variation in growth habits and a lot of weird expressions of stuff going on here. We've had some bad stormy weather here, and it has flattened quite a bit of it, although I can see already that what it's flattened the worst are the pure flint row, which is the center row, And some of the Flint and Gourdseed crosses are definitely standing a little better. But I don't know if it's because the deer ate them down or whether we're just having a strange year, but there's a lot of weird, like the queen ears. These things, these weird mutated multiple ears, I just read about these in a book and watched a YouTube video on them a few months ago. I'd never seen one before in my life, and this year I've got, you know, half a dozen at least already. They're just popping up like crazy this year. I don't know why. If it's a weather, here's another one. If it's a weather condition thing. And here's another one. It's kind of extraordinary. I'm not sure what it means, but there it is. The deer haven't come back, thank goodness. And we're getting gonna get some corn out of this patch, I do believe. If it doesn't all get knocked down in the next storm, which is on its way shortly. So wish us luck.